just remember to be kind to yourself. It's okay if we find out triggers here and there. So when you get triggered, you ask yourself, why is this triggering me? Where is this coming from? And you'll find it very entertaining.
The world could fall down, it's gonna be okay. The sun could go out, we're gonna be okay. If all the blue skies...
Hello, Try, this is me, Donna Vlogs. Here in my channel, I talk about the importance of good mental health, the things that a lot of people take for granted, like little important things in our lives that makes a difference. And I was just doing my laundry here. Bam! I had a download that I should talk about triggers. It's so funny because I too have triggers. There's always an underlying reason why. And so we're gonna talk about it because it's fun. And it's fun if you discover something new about yourself. A very common example when we watch movies or telenovelas, when the situation of lovers are very relatable to us, and it's almost as if that life story or love story is exactly photocopy of our experience. So sometimes we get overly emotional, or that emotions that it's like triggering the past. This is so funny because sometimes I get too emotional with movies. Always the animals that dies in the movies, oh my gosh, it's like ocean of tears. I get triggered when animals die in the movie because I love animals. Even songs, when we listen to a song, it triggers us. For example, there are specific songs that I share with my exes that I don't like. I turn off the radio or change the radio when I brings up bad memories. And another thing, guys, I'm almost embarrassed to say this, but because I am not in that place anymore, I don't have a choice but to say it. I have this friend and I look up to her because she is very healthy physically, and the food that she eats, every time we get together, in our houses, it used to trigger me because she eats clean food, which means that even her oil has to be coconut, and she eats a lot of veggies and fruits and basmati rice. But this friend of mine, right, because I was not yet in that place where I can control my cravings with bad foods like sugar, she eats honey if she likes the taste of something sweet. Because at that time, I am still working on my keto diet. I mean, less carbs with keto diet. Actually, keto diet is almost no carbs, but good carbs if they eat carbs like avocados and sweet potatoes and stuff. She is in that place where she's already have a very good habit with what she eats and what she does, go to the gym. It's not that I'm insecure, it's just that I wanted to be like her, but I was still not in that place. So her being healthy triggered me at that time. Thank God I'm not that person anymore. If we know our triggers, then we ask, why am I triggered by this situation, or why is this person triggering me? Oh, because I want to be like her, but I am not yet there. So it means like she's helping me level up. She's helping me, become more to be like her. Another example for this, guys, is that I cut a cousin out of my life because she used to trigger my childhood wounds. People who are very critical of you, they always tell you negative things, pointing out your weaknesses, and it triggered me a lot, guys, because this cousin of mine, I know he means well, but it's just that critical side of him that I'm just allergic to people who are very negative and so overly critical of me, because I grew up in a place where my mom is a Virgo, and Virgos we are very detail oriented, and we are best at jobs that points out mistakes. So there's a positive and negative of being overly critical. I'm an only child, so which means that my mom only focuses on me, and everything I do, she criticizes. I'm not saying that I don't like the way my mom brought me up, but I am who I am because of my mom, and I'm very thankful of that. But the last thing I need in my outer world, my external world where I go out, is another person who is exactly like my mom. Anyhow, it just drains my energy. So I blocked this cousin of mine in Facebook for I think 2 years. And I only unblocked him when I have a new account in my Facebook. I am used to blocking people in my life who are not good for my mental health. I always like to have a peaceful life. I will share about what happened. I think it was 19 years ago when I was still working with my best friend in the band. She used to date this guy, an Englishman. And I remember we are inside a taxi. It happened in Dubai when I was still working there as a singer. There's a lot of foreigners in Dubai, Germans, you name it, Americans, Australians, British, Canadians. Dubai is like Hong Kong where everybody meets there. Sometimes for business, sometimes for pleasure. So all accents are there. All kinds of English accents. Us as Filipinos working in an international environment, sometimes we laugh at ourselves with our accents. I am proud to share this because it was during that time that I felt like I was aware that you're a conscious person. How this moment, I share this with my best friend, I think last month. I told her the first time I didn't get triggered was with you when we were at this taxi and we were talking to an Englishman, and this Englishman was trying to date my best friend. And so we were talking about pronunciations, right? And suddenly I joked. I said random stuff and I said cognac. And that Englishman laughed so hard with my best friend at that time. The first impulse that you will think was that you're insulted, right? But at that time, I wasn't. The first thing on my mind was, oh my gosh, why are they laughing at my pronunciation? Because I know the correct pronunciation of cognac. It's a drink. I mean, if you're working in a bar, everybody knows that you have to say it cognac, although the spelling is cognac. Bottom line is that if you're an unaware kind of person or you're not emotionally evolved, you will actually feel offended, very offended that somebody laughed at your pronunciation, right? But that time I said, oh my gosh. And so when you say, I don't like that person, there's just something in them that triggers you or you cannot relate. Actually, sometimes we say, I don't like that person, when actually deep inside, we cannot resonate with that person. There's always something, or there's always a person who triggers us. And this is what's funny. Most of the triggers doesn't have to do with that exact person. For example, this is so funny because I used to have issues with men, right? I had for me, he was so handsome. He was like my dream guy. And I was so jealous. And it's because his being handsome triggered my insecurity because I don't trust men. At that time, I was dating this guy. Looking back at it, it makes me laugh because I remembered somebody telling me, why is your hair so bouncy? And I was thinking, if somebody triggers me because their hair is bouncy, isn't that funny? So if my ex-boyfriend was handsome, it triggers my insecurity. So it's like if I am my ex-boyfriend and if you find me handsome, so it's my fault that I'm handsome. So why are you punishing me for being handsome? It's like that person, why are you mad at me that you think my hair is bouncing every time I walk? I can't control my hair, it just bounces by itself. So it's funny, right? When we are triggered. It's funny when you find it for yourself. Like if you think about things that triggers you and why it triggers. The realization that you're being silly. When you realize these things, it's easier to change your patterns and your behavior. And the next time you are being triggered and you know that you are triggered, it makes you step aside from your usual normal self that's being triggered, that oh my gosh, this is me again, my shitty self. It's not bad that we have triggers. It's what you do with the trigger, and when you discover it, you feel like, I think I need to change. It's good for us when we know our triggers, guys. Honestly. So this is about trigger and finding out your triggers so that maybe it can help you elevate who you are, or maybe you will find out, oh my gosh, I need to process this trigger. I need to heal this trigger so that I can be a better person. You know, personal development is not that serious. Sometimes you just have to laugh about your mistakes, laugh about your fuck-ups. It's okay. This is part of being human. We make a lot of failures before we learn, and sometimes it's just a little nudge. So the universe will push you a little bit or give you a nudge. Okay, your blood pressure is so high, or your sugar level is blah blah blah, and your health suffers. The more you push it to the limit, the more the universe tells you, oh, you need to change this, you need to change your patterns, your eating habits, or the way you handle things, and you don't listen to it until such time you get very, very sick. And when you get very, very sick and you still go to your old habits, then the universe tried to help you, but still, you didn't listen. So maybe something really, really bad will happen to you health-wise. Also true with relationships. Why do you have a lot of failures in relationships? And if you don't see your patterns, that you're always in a victim mode, like it's always somebody else's fault and it's not your fault, of course you will always end up with the same person. You always find these people who abuse you and emotionally abuse you, but because you don't recognize what's abuse, that it's just not physical, it's also emotional, but because you grew up in a household where it's normal, too much control, like your mom or dad is so controlling, and you kind of resonate with other partners who are controlling to you. You don't see these patterns, that's why you choose the wrong partners, but because that's how your parents used to love you, and you don't know that, you're unconscious about it. So of course, if you don't do personal development and find out about yourself, why do I always attract the same people? If you don't recognize that it's because toxic relationships have been normalized in your household when you grew up. If you don't have these personal developments like I did, then you'll never have these realizations. If you don't know your triggers, then you will never change. You will always have the same problems over and over with your health, mental health, with your physical health. And guys, our life depends on it. The lifestyle or the quality of life depends on it. And that's why it's very important that we are very self-aware. We know our triggers, so that if we need to develop in this part of ourselves, then it will be good for us in the long run for a very good quality life and longer life. Because if we have good relationships, we have good health, then we will have longer life. Personal development is not that bad. Sometimes you can just laugh at yourself, you just laugh at your fuck-ups. It's okay to fail. All the successful people fail. And it's how you deal with failure. Did you change your habits? Did you change your thought patterns after you realize, oh my gosh, I fucked up royally in this part of my journey? So who cares? Everybody fucks up. So we'll try again tomorrow. That's what I do with my parenting. Sometimes, I do silly things, especially when I'm tired and have no sleep. And I'll say, I'll try to be a better parent tomorrow. I hope this helped. Don't be so hard on yourself and get too serious about life. Laugh at everything. Don't make everything personal. It's hard to do, but if you make life very serious, then what's the point? Maybe one of these days you'll do an exercise when something triggers you just have this exercise of why is this triggering me? Why is this situation or person makes me feel so angry? When you realize that, and then you realize just take note of those memories you had, why you feel this way, and then how can you change it to be better? Maybe it's teaching you, hey, you need to change. It's good for us. Change is good as long as it's for the better, isn't it?
We're gonna be okay.